IndyCars prepare for madness in Motown. Ernie tops NASCAR qualifiers at Pocono. And riding mechanics make a comeback in the desert off-road scene. This and more next on Speedweek.
Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Speedweek. I'm Bob Jenkins. It's Saturday night. That means a full evening of motorsports here on ESPN. And Saturday Night Thunder has a real treat in store for you at 9 o'clock Eastern. Both USAC sprints and midgets from the lightning-fast half-mile high bank track at Winchester, Indiana. And you'll also see highlights of the ARS race from Milwaukee and IHRA Pro Modifieds from Bristol, Tennessee. And tonight on Speedweek, we'll visit with Jeff Gordon, who's become the Saturday Night Thunder superstar. And in just a little bit, Benny Parsons will be along with an update of this weekend's activity at the Winston Cup race in Pocono. But first, the IndyCars are in Detroit, their second visit to the streets of the Motor City. And David Hobbs is there with the latest. David?
Bob, the weather here in Detroit is absolutely wonderful and has been for 2 days. Absolutely perfect qualifying conditions. And on the pole for the second year in a row is young Michael Andretti at just over 88 miles an hour, just a tick of the watch slower than he was last year. I asked Michael why he thought he was so quick around the streets of Detroit.
I don't know. I think we were just lucky last year when we stumbled across the setup, and we've been able to pretty much use that this year. I think that's been the key.
Rounding out the top 10, second is Al Unser Jr. in a Lola, third is Mario Andretti, also in a Lola, fourth is Danny Sullivan in the first Penske chassis, and fifth is Eddie Cheever, a great run by Eddie. Sixth is Bobby Rahal, seventh is Rick Mears, eighth is Emerson Fittipaldi, last year's winner, very disappointed. Ninth is Theo Fabi in the Porsche March, and 10th is Arie Luyendyk, your current Indy 500 winner. As I say, Eddie Cheever qualified fifth this afternoon, and I asked him what he thought of the difference between these cars and the Formula One cars, of which he's done every Formula One race here.
Well, the Formula One is designed in a different manner. It's supposed to only race on circuits like Detroit and a circuit like, let's say, Spa, which is actually just a normal circuit. But an Indy car has to race both in Detroit and in Indy, which is a super speedway. So it's a heavier car. It doesn't stop as well, and it's not as nimble. But a kart car has to cover a wider variety of circuits.
Other notable car and driver combinations here, Roberto Guerrero in the March Alfa Romeo qualified 18th. He had a bit of a troublesome run, one way and another. Willie T. Ribbs qualified 20th. He had lots of troubles, but that was a really good qualifying spot in only his second IndyCar start. Bob, the weather here is just so good, I'm going to have to go and sit by that wretched pool.
Thanks, David. And now for an update on this weekend's Winston Cup race. Drivers and teams have once again traveled from coast to coast for the first of two visits to Pocono International Raceway. And Benny Parsons, who's been the fastest in qualifying?
Well, Bob, here in Pocono, Ernie Irvin in the Kodak Film Oldsmobile is on the pole. Ernie, where did you find that lap?
Man, I don't know, Benny. I think it was just the racetrack and the combination of a good setup and a good engine for us. We hadn't run nowhere near that fast, but a lot of guys sped up, and we just happened to be the last one to qualify, and it worked out awful good for us.
Drivers say that Pocono is a road course with all left-hand corners. Did you learn something at Sears Point that helped you here?
Yeah, I learned not to turn right. I tell you, this is a tough racetrack, and I'd never really got around here real good, but I'm leaving here with a lot better thoughts right now than I came here with, so we're got a lot of ambitions for this race coming Sunday.
Bob, a surprise pole winner, Ernie Irvin. Starting outside Ernie is Dick Trickle in the Trop Arctic Pontiac. Then comes Bill Elliott in the Coors Ford third. Jeff Bodine in the Budweiser Ford is fourth. Greg Sachs, great run in the Ultra Slim Fast Chevrolet. Dale Earnhardt, the Goodrich Chevrolet is sixth. Sterling Marlin, the Sunoco Oldsmobile seventh. Ken Schrader, 8th in the Kodiak Chevrolet. Darrell Waltrip, 9th, the Tide Chevrolet. And Alan Kulwicki in the Zurich Ford round out the top 10. Mark Martin, our Winston Cup points leader, qualified 11th in first-round qualifying. Rusty Wallace was 24th. Morgan Shepherd, 29th, starting way back. And, Bob, yes, last Sunday in Napa, California, I survived the earthquake. Aren't you proud?
Benny, last Sunday's Banquet Frozen Foods 300 was an exciting race. It featured the two drivers who have dominated road racing the last 3 years, and it once again resulted in a new points leader. Here's John Kernan.
Ricky Rudd, in search of his first victory in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet and his second straight at Sears Point, started from the pole, but his ride toward another win would be sidetracked several times throughout the 300-kilometer event. The race featured a lot of bumping and banging. Rudd, Dale Earnhardt, and Mark Martin get together here, and moments later, Ricky had to pull it into the pits because of a flat tire, dropping him way back in the field. For the third week in a row, Earnhardt experienced problems. This week, a broken transmission caused the Goodwrench crew to spend some 10 laps in the pits for repairs. Dale finished 34th and drops to 4th in the point standings. By the late stages of the race, Rudd had worked his way back to the front, but on lap 60 of the 74-lap race, Wallace pushed his way around and was never threatened again, on way to his 5th win in the last 7 road races. Martin made a late pass on Rudd to come home second, and as a result of Morgan Shepherd's blown engine and 29th place finish, Martin moves into the points lead with Shepherd second. John Kernan reporting for Speedweek.
So who was the last driver to win a Winston Cup road race besides Rudd or Wallace? Well, it was Tim Richmond at Riverside in 1987.
Speedweek is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Coming up, the Nissans take speed honors at Le Mans, and Atlantics test roll bars in Montreal.
It's one of the most technologically advanced, most rigorously tested fluids on Earth, relentlessly measured for maximum protection against the friction, the wear and tear, the heat and stress of today's engines. It is today's Quaker State. In Europe, in Japan, in America, Quaker State quality has passed the most demanding tests automakers can throw at it. At Quaker State, we don't just say we're tough, we're tested tough. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
I've been saying we've got advantages over Japanese cars, but even I didn't know how good we are. An independent testing company asked 100 Americans who would consider Japanese cars to compare a Plymouth Sundance and Dodge Shadow to a Honda Civic. After rating over 30 different categories, 76 out of 100 judged the Sundance and Shadow superior overall to Honda Civic. And they weren't even told our cars are the lowest priced cars in the world with a driver's airbag. Who knows, we might have gotten them all.
Like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
When it comes to overall performance, Road and Track confirms it. The Dunlop D40 M2 outperforms the competition. First in wet braking. First in dry braking. Second in lap times on the test track. Second in road holding ability. Road and Track proves you can't beat the Dunlop D40 M2. Dunlop outperforms.
Remember 4 years ago this weekend at Portland, Michael Andretti gave Dad Mario the victory and a perfect Father's Day gift.
It's the most wonderful greetings he could have given me today, and I guess Michael just ran out of fuel on time, and funny thing is, I don't pity him at all. Anybody's going to beat me, I'm glad it was him. Do you want to say anything to your dad right now on national television? Well, happy Father's Day, Dad.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans is going on this Father's Day weekend. The world-famous endurance contest has been plagued with controversy, which has resulted in the defending champions not returning. Remember last year when the Mercedes team returned to Le Mans after a 33-year absence and finished first, second, and fifth, and then went on to win the World Endurance Championship? Well, not satisfied, the German manufacturer spent much of the winter building and testing a new car, the C11, which so far this year has won 3 out of 4 races. But because of a dispute between FISA and race organizers, Le Mans is not part of the World Sports Car Championship. And so Mercedes, hoping their absence will encourage the two groups to settle their differences, will not return. Nissan now becomes one of the favorites. Hopes ride for that Japanese manufacturer on new cars, the R90 CKs.
to the Japanese, Le Mans is their Mount Everest, you know, and they desperately want to try and win that race. So they kind of going there with three separate teams. The Japanese have their own team. Nissan Europe will have their team, which they do the Group C series, you know, the whole year. And they've given us two cars that we're going to go and run ourselves.
The FISA Le Mans dispute has resulted in a major track change. Gone is the over 3-mile-long Mulsanne Straight, which now is interrupted by two chicanes. That change, done in the name of driver and spectator safety, doesn't please another favorite team, the Jaguars.
The Le Mans V12 car was built for the long straightaways there. I mean, that's truly what the car was built for. And in past races there with that car, its strength came from that. It could outrun any car on the straightaway.
Not everyone dislikes the chicanes. Two-time winner Hurley Haywood, who'll drive a Vern Chupin Porsche this year, sat out last year, believing the speeds were getting too high.
The projected speed this year was going to be 250 miles an hour, and I mean, it's really crazy when you think about it, and you're at that speed for such a long time. The straightaway is very long there, and you sit there at top speed, and if you have a tire failure, if you have a suspension break, there's just no way to catch it and save it.
Mazda will also be represented among the 33 prototypes entered, and the winningest driver in Le Mans history, Jackie Ickx, will return as a consultant to that effort.
The history of Le Mans, it's so great. It started so many years ago. It has become a tradition, and for long-distance racing and prototypes, it's the #1 race in the world. I think if you ask the public about racing, there are two races I know in the world. It's Le Mans and Indianapolis.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans began this morning at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Nissan occupied 4 of the top 5 starting positions, and the number 24 car, qualified by Mark Blundell, but started the race by Julian Bailey, led the Porsche 962 of Oscar Larari when the event began. First pit stops came earlier than normal within the first 20 minutes. The American Nissan of Brabham, Daly, and Robinson, which started 4th, had fallen to 7th when Jeff brought the car in. When all the front runners had made pit stops, and at the end of the first hour, Larari's Porsche led Bailey's Nissan. For the results, watch Motor Week Illustrated Monday at 7:30 Eastern. Well, bad weather once again plagued racing last weekend in Montreal. The Formula Atlantic event was stopped early because of rain and numerous crashes. Local favorite Claude Bourbonnais was on the pole and took the early lead. Behind him, a fierce battle for second. Scott Harrington in red and points leader Brian Till touched going into the hairpin, sending last year's winner into a barrel roll and out of the contest. He was not injured. 2 laps after the restart, defending series champion Jocko Cunningham in the white car caught Bourbonnais as the pair entered the S's absolutely dead even. Claude went off course, kicking up some gravel. That caused third place Freddie Remrev to lose control and slam into the wall at nearly 135 miles an hour. He was held overnight at a local hospital for observation. The race was stopped early with Jocko taking the win. Rain was also a factor in the headliner in Montreal, round 5 of the Formula One World Championship. Those finishing in the points, McLaren's Ayrton Senna, followed by Nelson Piquet, Nigel Mansell, Gerhard Berger, Alain Prost, and Derek Warwick. Sometimes the fast-paced action is difficult to appreciate on TV. The saying, "A picture is worth 1,000 words" is a cliche, but still very true. Well, photojournalist Steve Swope captured some of the beauty of the Canadian Grand Prix.
It's new at Hayes Brothers, the Buick Reatta Convertible. Now America's premier luxury 2-seater, fabulously equipped and individually handcrafted, is available as a coupe or convertible. Also see the Buick Riviera, the car that delivers superb luxury and performance with classic styling inside and out. Save on Reatta and Riviera now at Hayes Brothers Buick, the dealer you can trust for outstanding service and value. Just off the freeway under the giant American flag at 2280 South State.
Dine out for free. Join the Dining Out Club of Utah. As a member, you will receive dozens of membership vouchers to 18 of the finest restaurants in Salt Lake and the surrounding area. Each voucher allows you to buy one dinner at the normal price and receive your second dinner absolutely free. Join today and receive a free Disneyland trip. 3 days and 2 nights hotel accommodations paid. But here's the best part. The price is now just $29.95. The Dining Out Club of Utah. Join today by calling 484-9763.
The ESPN Saturday Night Thunder series this year has been the private domain of Jeff Gordon. He won again last week in one of the best races I've seen in a long time. When early leader Gary Fiedle's engine went up in smoke, Jeff Gordon was the first to provide an indication of what was to come. From Steve Butler's in-car camera, you can see Jeff slide through the oil, then into and over the rear wheel of Wayne Hammond. Despite the wheelie, Gordon was able to maintain control and continue with no serious consequences. When the green flew again, Jeff quickly dispensed of Hammond and set off in hot pursuit of Rich Vogler. And Gordon number 2, Eric. While battling for the lead, Eric and Rich made contact. Despite grabbing the top spot, Eric now had to deal with a broken radius rod. Eventually, Jeff also got past Vogler, then using the high groove, powered past Eric with 3 laps to go, and went on to score his 3rd straight victory on ESPN Saturday Night Thunder. On the final lap, Butler was able to scoot past Vogler for 3rd, while Hammond and Jeff Bloom collided, but still managed to hang on to 5th and 6th.
He got squirrely and started up the racetrack, so I started low where there was a hole, and, he just lost it and come across in front of me, and I jumped his right front tire with my right front, and, then I was pretending I was the challenger, I guess. Thought I was headed for outer space.
And joining us now in our studios is Jeff Gordon, who at 18 years of age appears to be headed for auto racing stardom. That was one of the best races I've ever seen in my life, and I think you probably enjoyed it too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely one of my best races that I've ran so far, and plus it was on live television, so it makes it a little bit more spectacular.
Going for 4 in a row tonight, can you do it?
I sure hope so. We've got the team and the motor and the car to do it. And we're definitely going to be trying as hard as anybody else out there.
You haven't had a whole lot of experience on the pavement. You drove dirt races, of course, for a long time in your early career, and it's only been recent that you went to the pavement. Do you like it just as much as the dirt?
Oh, yeah. I really like the pavement. The dirt's a lot of fun. It teaches you a lot, but the pavement is where it's at down the road for my future.
Now, speaking of your future, we went to Detroit earlier today and got a sampling of what some of the guys think about Jeff Gordon and his future. And these, of course, are guys that are up there for the IndyCar race in Detroit this weekend. Here's what they have to say about Jeff Gordon.
Jeff has got a lot of tenacity, but at the same time he exercises the proper patience to try to keep himself out of trouble and still come out a potential winner.
Oh, I think he's got a lot of future. He's got a lot of natural talent. He's come a long ways, and he's proved he can run on both the dirt and the pavement and everything, and I think he'll go a long way.
If he wants to go Winston Cup racing or he wants to go IndyCar racing, I think he's got to make that decision. He doesn't have to make it anytime soon. If he wants to do this, I'd say he should get into some road racing series, get some experience as fast as possible. And that, he's got the ovals handled, it looks like to me. And if he wants to go NASCAR racing, I'd say get on down there.
All right, now you heard Chip say if you want to go Winston Cup or IndyCar racing, what do you want to do?
Well, that's hard to say. You kind of made it tough on me there because I really haven't. It's not really that I can make up my mind right now because I'm really working both ends of it, trying to see what the best way for me to go is. And I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of looking for NASCAR, but we'll just see what happens.
Are there any plans to go into open wheel and maybe take a driver's test or a driving school?
Oh, definitely. I mean, right now I'm definitely looking into a lot of driving schools, some Buck Baker, maybe NASCAR, maybe some Bonder on open wheel rear engine cars. So, but like I said, I'm not really, haven't made up my mind yet. So we'll just see kind of what happens. I'm not going to wait too long, but I'm definitely going to keep pushing myself to move on.
Well, let's think about the immediate future, and tonight at Winchester, wish you a lot of good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
It's going to be a tough show, and there's a lot of tough competition there, so it ought to be a really good show.
Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well, the World of Outlaws just completed an Eastern and a Midwestern swing, and because of the busy schedule, decided to postpone a scheduled event in Memphis on Monday night. But they were in action on Wednesday night in Houston. And Big H Speedway saw lots of action in the feature. With Doug Wolfgang leading, Mark Kinzer spins on the front stretch and is hit by Charles Caldwell. Caldwell isn't injured, but Mark is hospitalized with a broken shoulder. Shortly after the restart, Steve Beitler brought out the second red flag when he flipped in turn 4. And then Steve Laney took out the PA system, part of the catch fence, and almost hit flagman David Cabello. Laney wasn't injured. The last lap saw an unbelievable battle between Doug Wolfgang in number 8 and Bobby Davis Jr. in number 10.
Wolfgang and Davis side to side as the white comes out. This one's for the checkered flag. The last lap. It's Wolfgang down low. Davis up high. Wolfgang taking the lead. Here we go to the checkered. Wolfgang, he wins it.
Kinzer remains hospitalized in stable condition in the intensive care unit as doctors try to determine if he has any internal injuries. Well, dirt racing used to be a part of the national championship, and one of the most notorious of all mile dirt tracks was in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. It was paved in 1965, but in this week's Dick Wallet Racing Classic, Donald Davidson looks at the final championship event on the dirt, run on this weekend 26 years ago.
It's Father's Day 1964, and there are plenty of dads on hand for the 100-mile USAC Championship car race. Another Father's Day race more than 20 years later will hold fond memories for Mario Andretti. But today's special, too, because Mario is making only his second IndyCar start. Meanwhile, veteran A.J. Foyt, on a 4-race winning streak, uses an unusual means to trim his race car to perfection. Foyt starts on the outside of row 1 next to pole sitter Johnny Rutherford and quickly uses the high groove to take the lead. Judd Larson tries to sneak under JR for second, but Rutherford gets the bite off too and holds his position. Nobody masters the dirt like Foyt. Rate him a 10 for his classic style. With Don Branson now second, Bobby Marshman has also moved into the hunt, and before long uses the outside groove to take third from Rutherford. The grueling pace takes its toll as JR is out just 10 laps from the end. On this day, Foyt leads wire to wire to remain undefeated in 64. He'll go on to record the winningest percentage in a single IndyCar season, 10 wins in 13 starts.
I say our cars are every bit as good as Japanese cars. You say, I'm from Missouri, prove it. Well, something just happened in California that shook even me. An independent testing company asked 100 Americans who would consider buying Japanese cars to compare a Dodge Spirit and Plymouth Acclaim to a Honda Accord. They drove them, made 33 separate comparisons, and 83 out of 100 judged Spirit and Acclaim superior overall to Honda Accord. You wanted proof? You got proof.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
Welcome back to the show. Twice a year, off-road racers head for Baja, California. The longest event on their schedule, the Baja 1000, is held there annually in the late fall. The spring event covers less than half the distance, but is just as grueling. Steve Weiss reports.
Nearly 300 motorcycles and four-wheel vehicles competed in this year's Score Presidente Baja Internacional. The Ironman, Ivan Stewart, a pre-race favorite, took the early lead in his bid to win his third desert race of the season. He was pushed by Robbie Gordon in a BFG Ford, here passing veteran off-roader Walker Evans. As usual, Baja presented a number of challenges, including a flash flood that sent a wall of water over the race course. 68-year-old Greg Simons was the oldest driver on the course. He actually didn't start racing until the age of 48 and says despite his age, he can still be competitive.
Today's buggy and trucks with the sophisticated suspension systems that we have are just a big rocking chair.
Simons and the rest of the pack chased Stewart in his Toyota Yokohama truck all day long. Stewart, knowing his lead in the class seemed safe, told us in an air-to-ground radio interview he would take no chances down the stretch.
I got to keep an eye on Robbie Gordon. I want to keep him back. I want to win overall if we can, but, you know, class victory is much more important, but we'll see what we can do.
Gordon was making up ground on Stewart, choosing the low road along the beach to shave off precious seconds. Ivan Stewart crossed the finish line first in Ensenada, but Gordon had a faster elapsed time and would be the Class 8 and overall winner in a time of 7 hours, 25 minutes, and 21 seconds.
We figured we had 15, 20 minutes on Brian Stewart, which was the next truck, and we might as well go for the gusto and do the overall.
In other Baja highlights, the Kawasaki of Larry Rossler, Danny Laporte, and Ted Honeycutt won the motorcycle race. Rod Hull in a BFG-sponsored four-wheel drive truck won Class 4. John Swift had a close call here, but held on to win the mini-truck four-wheel drive race in a Ford. And the most dramatic scene of the day unfolded in the Nissan truck cab of Roger Mears as co-driver Tony Alvarez crawled over the engine with power steering fluid in his hand to help Mears pull out a close win in Class 7. Reporting from Baja, Mexico, this is Steve Weiss for Speedweek.
Racing on television this weekend. CBS will have live coverage of the Detroit Valvoline Grand Prix IndyCar race beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday afternoon. And the Miller Genuine Draft 500 Winston Cup race from Pocono will be televised on a pay-per-view basis beginning at noon Eastern Time on Sunday.
Planning. Where'd I get the capital to start this business with my daughter? By investing for the long haul. And forget full commission brokers. I called Charles Schwab. Munis, mutual funds, blue chips, and I saved plenty with Schwab's low commissions. Every day I tell my daughter, think long term. Make your own decisions. Be your own man.
We give you more ways to succeed. There's something new coming to you from Budweiser. And if the label turns your head, wait till you taste it. New Bud Dry. The first beer cold filtered for smooth draft taste and dry brewed for no aftertaste. So if you're looking for smooth taste with no aftertaste, turn here. Try Bud Dry.
Mike Tyson returns to the ring after losing his title. George Foreman continues the most incredible comeback in heavyweight history.
Taken in and disqualified him.
Well, Don Schilling was a driver that was doing